I'm pleased to join her efforts to discuss the current situation in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region and the United States' critically important role in securing Afghanistan's future stability during the next few months. Afghanistan has seen many changes this year, both promising and, unfortunately, worrying in many instances as well. On the positive end of things, the bilateral security agreement was finally signed in September, which I'm hopeful will both lay out and secure the U.S. role in the post-2014 Afghanistan. Also somewhat encouraging is the relative clarity we have of the U.S. presence in Afghanistan, at least for the next couple of years. The last time we examined the situation in Afghanistan back in October of last year, that picture was not so clear. Today, we know that Afghan security forces hold primary security responsibility in the country, while the U.S. maintains a force of 20,000 for the time being. That number will decrease to 9,800 next year, then further decrease to 4,900 in 2016. At least that's what we think. But even with clarity on the numbers, I am concerned about future stability there because Afghan forces will undoubtedly need continued support. The plan for an eventual U.S. military exit from Afghanistan after 2016 is troubling because I don't believe that Afghan security forces will be able to secure Afghanistan if left on their own, at least not in that time frame. Events in Iraq this year depicted one such scenario. ISIL captured Mosul and Iraqi security forces collapsed. We can't afford to let this happen in Afghanistan after so many years of investment and sacrifice. In fact, I believe General Campbell's statement where he expressed his confidence that, quote, Afghan forces have the capability to withstand the fight internally, unquote, is premature. With the ISIL threat in the region spreading its talons east, we have no way of knowing what the Taliban insurgency in Afghanistan will look like in 2 years' time. With this in mind, it's prudent for us to keep the option of a bigger post-2016 U.S. and NATO force presence on the table. It's widely acknowledged that stability in Afghanistan necessitates close engagement and cooperation with Pakistan. However, Pakistan's sustained tolerance and support of Afghan Taliban forces in Quetta and the federally administered tribal areas means a peaceful, stable, independent, and united Afghanistan is in the distant future. Despite some advances in the U.S.-Pakistan relationship and the Pakistani military's launch of a major offensive against Islamist terrorist groups in the federally administered tribal areas, the end results of these efforts is not certain. Limited capacity, rampant corruption, distrust, disorganization, and divergent security interests between various sectors, both civilian and military, make promises from Islamabad unreliable if history tells us anything. In fact, the political protests in August aptly illustrate the case in point. Prime Minister Sharif's control over the military is not strong, but the military's influence over Pakistan's foreign and national security policies is rather solid. I urge the administration to exhibit caution. Pakistan's ongoing support for sectarian extremist groups to expurgate Indian influence and augment its own influence in Afghanistan will not end well if the current trend continues. This path will only be to the detriment of the region and U.S. security and foreign policy interests. I also continue to be concerned about Pakistan's ongoing persecution of religious minorities. Pakistan is ranked among the most religiously intolerant countries in the world, and Prime Minister Sharif's government continues to tolerate the oppression of Christians, Hindus, Shiites, and Ahmadis, among many others. However, the State Department has yet to designate Pakistan a country of particular concern for its violations of religious freedom. Between 2012 and 2013, there were over 200 attacks among religious groups and 1,800 casualties resulting from religion-related violence, the highest rates in the world. And just over a month ago, on November 4th, 2 young Christians were murdered, burned alive, accused of blasphemy by a Muslim mob of 4,000 people. One of them was a pregnant mother of 4. We cannot continue to ignore this horrific behavior and the plight of these groups due to discriminatory laws, forced conversions, terror attacks, and blasphemy arrests. Ongoing religious persecution in Pakistan and its government's paltry efforts to recant its support of Islamist extremist groups makes it increasingly difficult, I believe, to justify the administration's billions of dollars worth of aid to Pakistan. I hope our witnesses will discuss what the administration is doing to support religious minorities in Pakistan and demand that the Sharif government ensure the human rights of minorities in that country. I want to again thank Chairman Russ Leighton for calling this hearing. I look forward to hearing testimony from our distinguished witnesses today.